These are new recruits of the Afghanistan National Army, or ANA. They're growing in numbers to help their country by safeguarding its borders and increasing stability. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has a big role in the reconstruction of Afghanistan by building quality facilities, not only for the ANA, but also for the Afghanistan National Police and Border Police, which altogether make up the Afghanistan National Security Forces. In order to increase and maintain stability, those forces need facilities in which to work and train. The walls of this 70-year-old border police facility near Pakistan in eastern Afghanistan, for example, continue to crumble. But this new Corps-managed and Afghan-built facility that's adjacent to the old one will allow the border police to keep a better eye on insurgents who regularly cross the border. The goal of building facilities like this is simple: to provide the Afghanistan National Security Forces with the ability to do their jobs and to create jobs for the local population. And because they're built by Afghans, it brings empowerment and a commitment by them to eventually take full control of their own security. Lieutenant General Robert Van Antwerp is the Chief of Engineers for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
The first thing is security, and that's really what the police are to do and the armed forces to do. What that does is then allow your contractors to go and do those next things that you really have to build an economy. So yes, there's pride. When they go in and cut the ribbon on these facilities, they can say, somebody is investing in us, and this is a first-class facility, and from it we can provide security. Man, that is really what this is all about.
Lieutenant General Van Antwerp says the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is helping to instill a sense of pride and commitment in the National Security Forces when soldiers and police move into their new facilities. Afghanistan is one of the poorest countries in the world and its army is in its infancy, but the new facilities are bringing a bit of comfort for the tough job of trying to stabilize the country.
Just like in our Army, we feel you all have facilities that are commensurate with your service. We want to say the same thing to the Afghans, that they're getting good facilities that will really benefit the training.
Afghanistan is a huge country with numerous mountain ranges that make plugging potential insurgent entry points difficult. Agencies like the Combined Security Transition Command Afghanistan, or CSTCA, assess the vulnerabilities, then coordinate with the construction agent, which is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
If they're going to have a sustainable future here, they've got to be able to protect themselves and create that security condition. So our responsibility is to build that. Now, CSTCA is looking at where are those best locations for border police stations. They're working that in conjunction with the ISAF Joint Command. It's an overall strategy for how we're going to put the security conditions in place. And then they hand that off to us, and it's our job to build something.
Operational requirements dictate where a facility will be built. In the COIN, or counterinsurgency environment, the philosophy of clear, hold, build is used. Clear the area, establish security to hold that area, then construct buildings.
The hold phase, where you're trying to establish a stable environment for governance, that's where a lot of the building starts to take place. But there's a risk there because you don't always have a clean, solid hold. It could fluctuate back and forth based on the vote of the enemy, we like to call it. But that build phase is really governance. When you're in the build phase of the COIN environment, you have established facilities, ideally, and you've got a governance that is starting to function. It could be judicial, it could be schools, it could be hospitals. These are the things that need to come online.
Clear, hold, build is having positive effects throughout the country. And again, once security has been established, it makes it easier for construction to begin, and it gives Afghans a better and safer incentive to return to their towns and villages, to get on with their lives, and start reviving their local economies.
In our particular case, I know in Regional Command South, we have the main effort going on. And from that standpoint, we've really tried to work closely with the intent of the COIN strategy of clear, hold, build, tie into their tactics as they go through and hold operationally a particular area and try to build right behind it. We've got a couple roads that we're tying in as they clear through small communities. We're trying to reestablish those routes and open them up for economic development. And it's pretty neat to see the flow of civilians come back into the area shortly after we've done the road construction.
Construction of facilities in key locations is a long process. One of the first things that needs to be done is to clear the land where the facility or installation will be built. Afghanistan is still littered with debris from the Soviet occupation. According to U.S. Army Corps of Engineers explosive ordnance officials, it ranks as one of the most dangerous places in the world for landmines and unexploded ordnance, or UXO. Officials say that upwards of 95% of deaths in Afghanistan are from UXO.
The amount of ordnance that's left on the ground from the Soviet campaign, along with scrap metal, vehicle parts, equipment, old building rubble, is extraordinary. We have to clear this area prior to the start of UXO clearance of all the metal contamination that's on the ground first.
Building numerous facilities in Afghanistan is complicated and time-consuming, but it ties into one of the fundamental parts of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers mission, nation building. Corps of Engineers officials are trying to impress to the Afghans that thinking long-term will have immediate effects.
Yeah, I think nation building has a lot of, depending on who you're talking to, what does it mean? For me, it means that you are building it for the long haul, that eventually in Afghanistan, for instance, just something like the operation and maintenance of all these facilities. At some point, the construction's done, the ribbon's cut, and now the facility's being used. These facilities will last 50, 60, 70 years or longer if they're maintained properly. So part of the nation building is provide the facilities. The other part is building the capacity in the Afghan workforce to take care of those facilities. So it all goes into that. The other part is to really begin to help them develop so that they can compete on world markets, that they can have a proper transportation system to get goods to market, enough electricity to provide the refrigeration so that you can sell fresh fruit and it doesn't just have to be dried. So those kinds of things, that begins to build the nation.
When we return, we'll take a look at how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is building capacity to turn over operations and maintenance of facilities to the Afghans. More than 30 years of warfare have left Afghanistan crippled with an infrastructure in disrepair and a workforce that has had little or no practical experience to repair it. When U.S. Army Corps of Engineers built facilities are completed, the challenge is operating and maintaining them. Currently, the Corps takes on the responsibility of managing operations and maintenance contracts.
We got to start backing out of that and make some assumptions that we have to turn some of this over to the Afghans starting right now, and start to, gradually move back away from the requirements and have the Afghans stand up. Now, that whole practice of facility engineering is new to them. They haven't had to maintain the quantity or quality of the facilities that we're going to say, this is the portfolio you're now responsible for. They haven't had to do that before. So how do we create facility engineers in this country? Well, we're working with the universities, and they're looking at adopting some new courses, maybe even a major at Kabul University that focuses on facility engineering.
There are some success stories that are spurring on the Afghans to assume full responsibility of their new facilities. Just south of Kabul is Camp Moorhead, which is home to elite soldiers of the Afghanistan Special Operations Command. The high standards of these commandos trickles down to all elements of the installation. Members of the NATO training mission Afghanistan and the Corps of Engineers work closely with Afghan installation officials to ensure that they're ready to assume full responsibility of Camp Moorhead, to include operations and maintenance, within the next several months.
Based on the teamwork that we've established with the Afghan Commando Garrison, as well as the other partners, USACE, CSTIC, the Regional Support Center, and then local Afghan workers, we've been able to work on this project and get it ahead of schedule, so it looks as if we can turn this over to the Afghans prior to July of next year.
Construction is non-stop at this installation, nicknamed Camp Commando. Between 500 to 650 Afghan workers are on the job each day, which adds to economic stability and security in the surrounding area. What coalition forces here are focusing on is long-term operations and maintenance of such critical items as power generators and water treatment facilities.
We really believe, with the local workforce that we have on site, that 500 to 650 workers each day are gaining a technical expertise in a specific area of the project. They'll be available later when the project's finished to come back and work on it.
The key to success at Camp Commando has been constant dialogue with Afghan partners who want to be self-sufficient and are ready for the challenge. The work here is tough and there's more to go, but the future here looks promising.
It is a lot of work, and the Afghans are in the lead. What we've done is we've partnered with them, we've showed them all the plans, we've talked about the buildings, occupations, and the important steps so they understand the sequence of taking over responsibility for this base.
In the past, this area was controlled by the Soviets and eventually by the Taliban. But the Camp Commando attitude is full of love of country that the Afghans believe is worth defending. This unbreakable spirit has given them an edge in being self-sufficient and with a new sense of pride. There are other areas of Afghanistan's military that are beginning to take lead roles in the rebuilding of the country. The National Military Academy Afghanistan is touted as the crown jewel of higher education in the country. With a curriculum modeled after the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, the cadets get a first-class education with help from West Point and U.S. Air Force Academy mentors. Admissions are tough. 600 new cadets, for example, were selected from a pool of more than 3,000 qualified candidates.
The competition to gain admissions here at NEMA is very competitive, very similar to the way it is at West Point and the Air Force Academy.
Engineer officers Shah Noor and Shafiq Haibat recently completed a 6-month internship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Afghanistan Engineer District North. During their time with the Corps, they learned all aspects of engineering management, quality assurance, and hands-on training with sophisticated engineering software. In addition, they learned several aspects of leadership styles that they plan to use as engineer officers to teach to engineer cadets at the Academy.
I will be happy to train or teach engineering cadets, and this is going to be the good things for me in the future to have a good cadets or students in engineering side.
As engineer officers in the Afghanistan National Army, they're responsible for all aspects of civil engineering within the ANA and various government projects. With their newly gained knowledge from the internship, their focus is on helping with the reconstruction of their country and maintaining stability. There's a saying in Afghanistan that applies to engineers. As engineers go, so goes Afghanistan. If the government of Afghanistan is able to produce and develop good engineers, then there will be a brighter future.
In 1802, we established West Point. It was established primarily to train and educate engineers. Why? Because that's what you need at this foundational level. So we had the first couple of classes of graduates. In fact, I think the most recent class graduated 300, of which a number of those in there were engineers. They're going to be a lot of your future here. They're going to go out and they're going to help with the facilities. They're going to help with probably running construction firms in the future. You will see graduates of the Afghan Military Academy. I think they're going to be found in a lot of places. So we're very excited about that. You got to start with the people and the leadership, and they're going to be able to provide it. Now they need experience. I think that's where the Corps of Engineers, maybe through intern programs or others, we can help. Because they've got the education coming out of the academy, but now we got to get them out and get them true life on the ground experience.
And that's the key. Help the Afghans help themselves by developing a system to build practical experience. Billions of dollars are being pumped into Afghanistan, and the labor force needs to be able to handle the volume of construction and Western ways of doing business.
If we're going to do $2 billion worth of construction this year, if we're going to do about $7 billion of construction over the next 3 years, we got to have that labor base, and we can't just hope for it. We've got to invest in it. So we've got to find those vocational technical schools, create an opportunity to learn skills like the trade skills of electricity, plumbing, things that aren't the norm here in this country, but we know it's part of their future as they continue to build on what we've put in place here.
Afghans are getting practical experience in such places as the Afghanistan Technical Vocational Institute in Kabul. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is supporting the institute by building a construction materials testing lab. Like on any campus, the students are hopeful that their country will soon begin to see progress in the rebuilding of their country.
the youths can rebuild it again. So these youths, Afghan youths, who are studying here in Kabul University, all over the Afghanistan, so whole the future of Afghanistan is in their hand. Yeah, so they should try a lot and work hard.
The helping hand being offered to Afghanistan by the global community is having positive effects. Corps of Engineers officials say that what the labor force is learning in one area of Afghanistan is also being learned in other parts of the country. The end result is a sense of pride and a fresh beginning after having suffered through 3 decades of war.
We want the Afghans to build their buildings for their country to support their infrastructure. So it's twofold. We're trying to build a facility to enable the country development, but we're also training the local talent, the local skilled labor, so that they can be more successful and actually export their own construction services to the rest of their country.
In a moment, we'll take a look at how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is building personal and cultural relationships in Afghanistan. Afghan Hands is a grassroots level program designed to immerse U.S. service members into the Afghanistan National Security Forces by learning one of the 3 main Afghan languages of Dari, Pashtun, or Urdu, and adapting to the Afghan culture.
Zabani Dari Kam-Kam, Zabani Almani,
Pakhta.
Captain Jim Mooney is always a hit when he speaks Dari to youngsters in the northern Afghanistan city of Faizabad. And he has better insight into what the Afghanistan National Police need in support to their mission when he speaks to them in their language. As part of the Afghan Hands program, this engineer officer is well respected by his Afghan counterparts because he's speaking to them in their language, and they know that he's genuinely interested in them and their culture.
I speak not fluently, but enough to really kind of break the ice, and it is incredibly receptive by the people here on the ground, by the people of Faizabad, by the people of Badakhshan, everywhere I've been so far. They find it absolutely fascinating and amazing that an American learned Dari in 4 months, and that we're able to have a conversation. And they always meet me halfway. They always come back and they try to speak a little bit of English, and we actually have learned to work together as a team.
As a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers officer in Afghan Hands, Mooney is stationed on a German provincial reconstruction team installation. The German-American partnership here is excellent, and the Germans appreciate his linguistic skills. In turn, the Corps of Engineers relies on the Germans for all kinds of support. At this Afghanistan National Police Clinic that's under construction, German police provide room clearances before Mooney can inspect them for quality assurance. The clinic itself will bring much-needed medical help when it's completed.
This clinic, although its main purpose is actually to support the A&P, it will be open to the public. So people will be able to come in here and use the facilities. The doctor, I had an extensive conversation actually in Dari with the doctor here, and he is not just here for the A&P, he also works in the hospital, but he has opened the doors to also help them.
Support to the Afghanistan National Police is critical for regional stability in Badakhshan province. There are various networks of contractors to help build A&P facilities, and Mooney is speeding up the process by getting smaller contract firms to join others to be able to handle Corps of Engineers contracts.
I've taken that really under my wing and taken that as my kind of like my torch for the Afghan Hand program inside the Corps of Engineers. And I was currently working on a what they call a joint venture. I'm taking a bunch of contractors that would not be able to handle doing a core contract by themselves, but basically I've pulled them together and said, you know what, if you guys foster some teamwork and you incorporate yourselves, you can all go in and you can actually do Corps of Engineers projects in this province.
The Afghan Hands program is winning hearts and minds. This grassroots level approach is fostering a sense of trust and creating goodwill for Afghanistan and its future leaders. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is helping the local government in the city of Mederlam in a unique way. Afghan government officials asked for and received the green light for a school to be built on the outskirts of the city. These young boys are 2 of about 500 other boys who will live and receive an education here once the school is completed. Workers are putting the finishing touches on various rooms that will house and feed them. And U.S. Army Corps of Engineers officials and provincial reconstruction team members check for quality assurance to ensure that it's built to standard. The goal of the school is simple. Parents don't want their sons shipped off to Pakistan with the chance of them being educated by potential radicals.
That's their fear. Many families want their young men to have good, proper Islamic education, and this is in Western terms, K through 12. But they have no say, no control over what's in Pakistan. Here they know their government will regulate the curricula and monitor their boys while they're gone from home.
The school is just one of dozens of projects that provincial reconstruction teams work on to help stabilize the Afghan government. The PRTs mentor the government through provincial councils and district development to learn how to properly prioritize budgets and to learn how to rebuild their own country. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers embeds a few of its members on a PRT to help coordinate construction efforts.
Schools are a huge piece of what the PRTs do. They're out there making sure that children that used to go to school underneath the tree have a building where they can go and learn.
When the school is completed, it will signal a new beginning for the slow process of rebuilding Afghanistan. Future leaders might be groomed at the school, and there's reassurance that the country is on the right path for stability.
The 8-year-old boy, it may be 10 years before he graduates and becomes a part of their government or their citizenry, a voting citizen here. But the people that he influences just by being able to attend that school is a lot larger than the population of the school.
Understanding the Afghan culture is challenging. It's a culture based on family ties and immediate friends. One Corps of Engineers project manager knows both the Afghan way of life and being an American. And he's making lots of headway. Mustafa Kanishka was born in Afghanistan and received his undergraduate degree in Kabul. At age 23, he left for the U.S. on a scholarship to earn a master's degree in architecture and urban planning. More than 30 years later, he's back in Afghanistan helping with reconstruction efforts. These Afghans are learning from him about quality assurance in the classroom, and they apply that knowledge practically in the field. In this case, it's at this future Eastern Afghanistan Border Police facility at Nazian, near the Pakistan border. As an Afghan American, he's helping them to understand Western ways of doing business. He says they're receptive to those ways, and they're grasping new and innovative ideas to ensure that well-built facilities help the Afghan Border Police safeguard their country.
Bringing that education and knowledge and technology to somewhere like here, and these people grasping it so fast, it is going to be going as one of our best successes in the world, because not only we are educating these people, then they are starting educating each other.
Kanishka understands the Afghan way of doing business, which he says is based more on family ties and friendship. He explained that business can't operate successfully like that, but he feels that the concept is gaining ground.
The cleaner you conduct the business, the easier life becomes for both of you. Either you are a contractor, or you are an LNQA, or you are the owner. So in that case, bringing that point, I think it's going to help these people to grasp something from the West, which is very positive.
Kanishka says that time is not on the Afghan side in the reconstruction of their country. He's optimistic, though, that they're learning quality assurance quickly and that they're taking ownership of the responsibilities for ensuring that facilities are built properly before they're turned over.
We are not going to be here forever. This is yours. And our expertise that now we are here, please use them. We will love to teach you how to rebuild this country.
Rebuilding Afghanistan means that security is greatly improved by giving quality facilities to the Afghanistan National Security Forces to better do their jobs. And the work that comes from building those installations and facilities provides Afghans with much-needed jobs. Being able to put food on the table is a simple way of contributing to the counterinsurgent operation. After more than 30 years, the Afghans are tired of war. All they really want is a good and stable environment and a hopeful future for their children. Reporting from Kabul, Afghanistan, I'm Hank Heusinkveld.